Best beats, make it funky, funky.
Yo. UFC 305. Fucking Tron TV breakdown, motherfuckers. Third time's a charm. Bruh, fucking 3 massive pots of coffee later, if the audio doesn't record on this one, something's getting thrown out the window. I'll tell you that much. Right, UFC 305. If you're an Anzac Fight fan, whew, this is for you. Holy shit. Literally start to finish stacked with top level Anzac Fight talent. We'll go top to bottom. Main event. Israel, the last stylebender Adesanya, challenging current middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis. Izzy, former 2-time middleweight strap holder, challenging Dricus, current champ. If Israel manages to win, he'll be the first 3-time middleweight champion and only the second UFC fighter in history to win about 3 times. Randy Couture previously. Different time as well in MMA, so yeah, if Izzy does this, it'll be a super impressive feat to do. Getting slightly older now, Izzy 34, 35, and having such a prolific combat sports resume, having fought kickboxing, he's fighting 5 times a year, 6 times a year, and then MMA being one of, if not the most active champion when he was champion, again fighting 4 or 5 times a year as a champion in the UFC. It's beyond impressive, regardless of what Izzy, regardless of the outcome of this fight, Izzy is one of the greatest MMA fighters, and definitely, behind Anderson Silva, he'll be number 2 greatest middleweights of all time, and I don't think you can debate that. You could spend time debating if he was the first, I guess, but I don't know if if he ain't the first, he's the second. Whereas Dricus, on the other hand, you look at the middleweight rankings and you still kind of bloody rub your eyes. Goes, Dricus the champ? Like, what the... I'm still surprised he manages to beat bloody Robert Whittaker in the way that he did. So, yeah. Izzy coming back after his longest layoff in his career, which at this point in his career can only be a good thing. And if he comes back and he's switched on and he's at the same point and he's firing like he was against Poatan in that rematch where he slept Poatan, I still get goosebumps thinking about that shit. It's hard for anyone in middleweight or even light heavyweight to match Israel Adesanya when he's firing on all cylinders, because he's an incredible MMA athlete and combat sports fighter. If he can get his game going, get them reacting to his feints, it could... The loss to Strickland kind of could have been a little bit of a sign that maybe people have switched on to his style and kind of have managed to get a bit more of an understanding of his feint game and kind of build tactics to circumvent that, because he didn't have a lot for Strickland. But watching the Poatan fight rematch, MMA rematch, and the Strickland fight, they are 2 different fighters, man. Like, Izzy wasn't there against Strickland, Whether or not he's going to be there against Dricus, I guess, remains to be seen. Whereas Dricus, on the other hand, he's at that point in his career where, and he seems to be like really even-keeled as far as emotional. He's there to do a job and knows what the job is, and he gets in there and does it. So I can't see that changing in this. He's going to have a game plan, and he's going to go in there and he's going to look to execute that game plan. And unless Izzy can kind of get his game going and and keep it where he needs it at range and get Dricus biting on those feints, it could be a long night for Izzy. But if Izzy's on and he knows and he's got his own game plan and he's able to execute, then he can beat literally anyone in that middleweight, light heavyweight divisions. You know, he's fucking amazing. So that's what I'm banking on. I'm banking on Israel turns up and just wipes the floor with Dricus. But if it is that point in Izzy's career where he can't turn it on anymore, it'll be a long night. But boy, if that man is on, if that man switched on, you better be fucking paying attention, because otherwise you'll wake up staring at the lights. And that's what I'm banking on. Israel Adesanya, 3-time middleweight champion, washes Dricus, puts that middleweight belt to the side after becoming the 3-time champion, moves up to light heavyweight again, challenges Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight strap in a MMA trilogy match. Like, that's... who doesn't want to see that? And I can't help but feel like that's what the UFC's thinking of as well. You haven't heard much. They haven't been booking Alex. You know, you've got poor old Ankalaev sitting there, who a lot of people, you know, had presumed was going to reign over that light heavyweight division for a long time. They've got him there coming off at least one win, if not two, but they're not looking to book him against Pereira just yet. I think they're sitting there kind of chilling to see what happens with this fight, and if Izzy manages to get past Dricus, they'll probably match them up in a rubber match, MMA rubber match for the light heavyweight strap. Which, who doesn't want to see that? Fuck yes. So let's go Izzy. Gets his game going, puts him away late in the third. Let's go Israel Adesanya. Moving down to the co-main event, we got Kai Kara France versus Steve Erceg. Kai Kara coming off a long layoff, having unfortunately suffered concussion in training sometime in the last year or so, 2 years. Also coming off a long layoff and coming off a loss, but that loss to Amir Albazi was, I reckon he won that fight. I mean, if you look at the body language when the judge's decision was being read out, I'm pretty sure Amir Albazi fucking thought he lost the fight as well. But, you know, really close fight. Ended up not going Kai's way. And then, yeah, like I say, he's been off, was concussed in training, I think. So he's had a bit of extended layoff, which could be a good thing as well. But he had been somewhat of a perennial contender in this flyweight division. So I can't help but feel like if he manages to get a win over Steve Erceg, who has just come off a really good performance in a loss to Alexandre Pantoja in fighting for the belt earlier in the year, I can't help but feel like if Kai manages to get the dub over Steve, he's right back in that conversation for that title fight. And then Steve, on the other hand, having had such a good performance against Pantoja, you know, they were neck and neck that whole fight. Steve manages to make it was a bit of a critical decision, you know, a critical mistake, shall we say. He shot for a takedown in the 5th round. Pantoja manages to reverse him and then holds position and lands ground and pound, or at least holds position through the 5th round in their fight, and then gets the decision. Up until that point, Steve was starting to get it over on him. He was starting to kind of land heavy shots. He was managing to take him down at will. Unfortunately, Pantoja manages to reverse him in the 5th round and secure that fight and keep his belt. But Steve was, he almost, in his 3rd UFC fight, he almost got that flyweight strap. Which is actually really interesting, because in the 11 months that Kai's been off, Steve debuted a week after Kai's last fight, and then in the 11 month that Kai's been away, I'm not sure if he managed to get the KO in his debut, but then he sleeps Matt Schnell. It was an impressive KO as well. Puts Matt Schnell to sleep. Matt Schnell, flyweight action fighter, always there to brawl. He sleeps Matt Schnell and then goes on to have a really impressive performance in a title fight against Alex Pantoja. And that's all in the time that Kai Kara's been on the bench. So Steve's stormed through the division while Kai's been kind of chilling. Kai at number 4, Steve at number 7, but obviously Steve Usyk coming off that loss in the title fight, he's in that conversation straight away if he comes off a win to get another shot at that belt. And Kai, if he gets a win over someone just coming off having fought for the belt, he's right back in that conversation for title fights as well. So a lot on the line for these flyweight guys. Kai, a little bit further on in his career, but still got plenty of tread on the tyres, where Steve, young, keen, early in his UFC career. But I'm not sure if he's had such a, his co-main event here in his, in front of his home crowd. I don't feel he's really one to buckle under pressure. I think he's probably one to rise to the occasion, but it could be interesting because Kai, he's been there, he's done that. He's fought in front of home crowds. He's been under pressure in these situations and he's performed. So that could be worth thinking about. But either way, let's go Kai. Up the Kiwi. Trans-Tasman rivalry. It's going to be a good fight. They're both top-level fighters. Tune in for that one because that's going to be fun start to finish. Talking about fun start to finish. The feature bout. We've got Dan the Hangman Hooker versus Mateusz Gamrot. Mateusz Gamrot out of Poland at number 5 in the lightweight rankings. So shout-outs to him for taking the fight with Dan Hooker at number 11. Dan Hooker not that long ago was at number 5 himself. But yeah, Mateusz coming off a TKO victory against Rafael Fiziev, but the TKO itself was slightly odd because Fiziev actually injured himself. I think he kicked Mateusz's elbow or something and blew his knee or his ankle out, and then Mateusz, when Fiziev just crumbled due to the injury, kind of got on top of him, ground and pound, got the TKO that way. But it was a bit of an odd finish, like Mateusz, he's got a functioning striking game, but he's a chain wrestler. He's just going to be shooting low singles, single legs all day, chaining them together, and that's his game. He's just heavy grappling pressure, and he's not even that much of a submission threat, He's just like control-based game, and he's going to get on top of you, grind you out, land, ground and pound, and it works for him. He's very good at what he does as well, but he's not so much of a danger as far as finishing you. And Dan, I can't help but feel like it would have been real interesting in that Fiziev versus Gamrot fight if it had made it into the later rounds or into the third rounds, because can't help but feel like Fiziev, if he'd managed to kind of keep Mateusz off him, he was gonna, when Mateusz kind of started taking a few deep breaths later in that fight, he was possibly gonna get some chances to land on him. And if Dan Hooker gets chances to fucking land on him, he might be able to get it done, eh? He might be able to put him away. And you got to get Dan out of there, because he ain't going nowhere unless you break his arm. And even if you break his arm, you're not guaranteed to win. We've all seen that. It's just a scratch. So I can't help but feel like if it gets into those later rounds, Dan's gonna have a chance to land something heavy and probably fucking hurt Gamrot. A knee up the middle or something like that. Those knees from Dan Hooker are ruthless. I watched him fucking knock Ross Pearson's mouthpiece across the octagon live when he fought, what was that? Mark Hunt versus Derek Lewis. He fought Ross Pearson on the earlier in the fight card here in Auckland and blitzed Ross Pearson. That was an amazing KO. Done similar things to Jim Miller. So, if Mateusz isn't watching his P's and Q's, he's going to be fucking staring up at those lights as well. Up the Hangman, Dan Hooker, knee, KO, sleeped him. Let's go. And then we got Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa against Jairzinho Rosenstrike, aka Take the Cut Man. shout outs Mani Moicano. Tai Tuivasa, we all love him for multiple reasons. Shuivasa, fucking the party anthems when he walks out, he gets the whole place jumping. He's you know, I can imagine that he's the life of the party wherever he goes. You know, a night out with Tai would be a lot of fun. So I'd hate to see Tai lose this, because I think that would be his 5th loss in a row. Yeah, 5th loss in a row, having lost to Cyril Gane, which, if it wasn't an interim title fight, it was a number 1 contenders fight, and he had him wobbled in that fight. He almost put Gane away. So now he was this close to having an interim strap, or at least fighting for, I think it was a contenders fight, number 1 contenders fight. So if he'd got Gane, he would have been fighting for that heavyweight belt. So he was that close. And then he's gone on a bit of a skid, having lost to Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov, and then Marcin Tybura. That loss to Marcin Tybura is not too flash. You know, losing to Volkov and Pavlovich, there's no shame there. They're arguably, or, you know, you can't really debate that they're some of the best heavyweights walking the earth. So there's no shame in losing to them. Especially in that Pavlovich fight, he came back far too soon after his Gane loss, and then got KO'd again early. So he had a bit of a bad run, possibly made some so-so decisions in taking fights and returning to competition too soon and the likes, but, you know, he's a gamer. That's why we're fans of him. So, and then Jairzinho, on the other hand, former kickboxer, he ain't going to be shooting. He's not going to be looking to submit Tai or take him down. So it's, you know, it's good. That's good for Tai. Jairzinho has got probably a deeper striking game, being a former kickboxer and having like a real functioning jab and the likes. But I can see, if it goes the distance, Rosenstrike might outpoint him, keep him at range with his jab, and kind of kickbox him to a decision win. But if Tai gets the opportunity and Leather starts slanging, which it's heavyweight, so it's almost bound to, Tai's got the chance to just, you know, put him away. And that's what's going to happen. Tai's going to knock this MFer out, take the cut man's going to sleep. Tai Tuivasa, Shui's on the cage, motherfuckers back rolling. Let's get back to the top of the division, Tai Tuivasa. And then the first fight of the main card, another fighter returning from a reasonably long layoff. I think it was the last time he fought was Daniel Rodriguez back in 2022. Li the Leech Jingliang. I'm not sure what the injury was, but yeah, coming off an injury layoff, fighting Carlos Ripada Prates, Contender Series guy. 2 fights in the UFC so far, 2 impressive KOs. Really long pause, deep kicks, straight shots down the middle. He slept Trevin Giles with a tidy 2-piece. Put him asleep, staring up at the lights. Dink, dink. I can't help but feel like it's Carlos Prates' fight to lose, because Li Jingliang is getting... he's been around for a while, and it'll be interesting to see how he's looking, having come off an injury. I think Carlos Prates is a Muay Thai practitioner, or that's his kind of base, so I guess if Lee gets his grappling going, then he possibly could make it a long night for Prates, but I'm feeling Prates probably does work and hurts Li Jingliang. Good fight though. Possibly not a pay-per-view main card level fight, but a good one to kind of start off a bit of a stacked card. Yeah. You got your prelims main event. Junior Tafa, brother of Justin Tafa, fighting out of Australia, but I got a feeling he's Avondale. He's a South Auckland boy, born and raised, I have a feeling. Against another brother of a heavyweight, Volta Walker, brother of Johnny Walker. And Volta I can't help but feel is only here because he's Johnny Walker's brother, whereas Junior and Justin are both, there. You can't take them down. They're probably gonna sleep you, or you're gonna be in a drag out. You're gonna get hit with some fucking lunch boxes, because those boys are big and know how to strike. They're cut from the same cloth of Tai Tuivasa. They're from that's that Mark Hunt lineage of Pacific Island kickboxers. If you can't put them down, they're gonna fucking hurt you. Which is actually something that's really frustrating about them at the same time, because you feel if they were actually managed to fucking pay attention and get a working anti-grappling game going, then they'd be at the top of the fucking heavyweight division all the time, because that's the only thing that gets them. As soon as they get pressured with grappling, they start to lose their energy. Then when they end up on their back, you see their fucking soul leave them, and they just fucking give up, and they're just like a fucking turtle on his fucking shell. I'm getting frustrated because holy fuck, I don't know how many times I've Mark, Ty, fucking Justin, Junior, we've seen it happen to them, and they get pressured with grappling and they buckle under the pressure. But if they can keep it on the feet, you're going to sleep. So I can't see Walter Walker getting him down. Junior Tava's going to sleep him early in the first round. Let's go. Avondale all day. I'm pretty sure that's where they're from. But yeah. Josh Culibao versus Ricardo Ramos. Another interesting fight. Josh Culibao fighting out of Australia as well. Ricardo Ramos, perennial fucking action fighter. Spinning elbows all day. That'll be a good fight. A lot of fun. King Casey O'Neill, fighting out of Australia. I've got a feeling she had been possibly up until recently fighting out of Extreme Couture in Las Vegas with Eric Nixick, who is killing shit at the moment. One of, if not the best coach in MMA at the moment, or kind of got a lot of fighters at tops of divisions, and is doing a really good job over there at Extreme Couture. I have a feeling that Casey O'Neill isn't there anymore, which is a bit of a shame. I'm not sure the reasoning for that, but going up against Luana Santos, who has been looking very good herself in more than one way, but I'm pretty sure that this is a last-minute replacement for Casey O'Neill. I don't think Luana Santos was the original match, which could be bad news for Casey O'Neill, because Luana Santos has been looking really good, but I'd like to see Casey O'Neill get back on the wing to her winning ways, because early in her career she was looking like she might make her way to the top of the women's flyweight division. It'll be good to have an Anzac, a Kiwi female Anzac at the top of the division, kind of fighting for belts and up there as well. Then we got Jack Jenkins against Herbert Burns, brother of Gilbert Burns. I think that's Jack Jenkins' fight to lose, because Herbert Burns, if he's not the hammer, then he ain't doing very well. As soon as this man's the nail, he seems to roll over and give up a little bit. His debut was impressive, and then since then he's had some pretty meh performances. Whereas Jack Jenkins, a grinder, coming off the Contender Series. I've got definitely Jack Jenkins in that fight. Maybe if Herbert Burns can kind of be the hammer, which I can't see happening, he might have some luck, but let's go Jack Jenkins, up the Aussie. And we got Tom Nolan against another brother, Alex Reyes, brother of Dominic Reyes. I can't say I'm too up on either of those guys, but let's go Tom Nolan, Anzac fighter, put him away. That's really prelims fight. Then we've got Song Kanan, former opponent of Israel Adesanya, versus Ricky Glenn. Both action fighters. They come to fight. Song Kanan's getting a little bit longer in the tooth. That should be a fun fight earlier in the card. And then the first fight of the night, opening up the card, Stuart Nicol in his UFC debut against Jesus Aguilar. Stuart Nicol, 9 fight unbeaten streak, 5 fighting out of Australasia, I was actually lucky enough to, one of my training partners is a former training partner of Stuart Nicole, and we managed to get Stuart over here to little old Nelson, New Zealand to give us a seminar at Balance Jiu-Jitsu in Nelson earlier this year, which was sick. Great seminar as well. He ran us through kind of his approach to the body locks and taking people down from the body lock and then working from turtle to kind of get your hooks in, flatten the guys out, and then obviously jiu-jitsu, you're not ground and pounding, but you know, he had this approach where, you know, he flattens these guys out, gets on their back, and then kind of cycles between the ground and pound, snaps the neck, ground and pound, hooks in, flatten them out, and he's been making that, he's been running through the fucking Australasian scene with that approach, and it fucking works for him. He's very, very good. Jesus Aguilar throws heaters though. So, you know, unless Stuart's, you know, switched on, you don't want to fucking collect one of those fucking heaters to the chin. But I see Stuart getting to the back, getting him to the ground, getting him in that washing machine, rinse and repeat, kind of ground and pound, submission threat, ground and pound, submission threat, and getting one of those two, either submitting the guy or TKO due to ground and pound. Let's go, Stuart Nicole. It's super dope for me having trained with someone who's on a UFC debut. That's real cool. It was a great seminar as well. Obviously, the approach was what he was showing us. You could see how relevant it was to an MMA game. And yeah, let's go, Stuart Nicole. He's someone to pay attention to in this flyweight division, I think. UFC 305, fucking sick card. It can kind of be a bit of a gift and a curse, these heavily stacked Australasian cards, because you got all your favourite fighters on there, and then as soon as one of them loses earlier on, it's a bit of a fucking damper, you know? It's a bit of a down buzz. And then if they all start not performing particularly well, it's almost like, you know, you got a house full of people and you feel like telling them all to fuck off. Don't talk to me, motherfucker. Type of shit. But yeah. Let's go up the Anzacs. We got Kai and Steve. We got the classic Aussie Kiwi showdown. We got Dan Hooker coming back against Mateusz Gamrot. Let's go up the Hangman. We got Izzy looking to become even more of a legend than he already is. 3-time middleweight champion. Let's go. Ty returning. So much fun. Stack, start to finish. Stuart Nicole debuting, gonna fucking look really good. Yeah, let's go. If you made it this far, you're a legend. Cheer to bros. And if this audio didn't record, I don't know what I'm gonna do.